Hey there, Film Buds. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. I'm your host, Paul.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are continuing on our summer movie season this week. But this week, we're getting into sexy summer. We're getting into showing some skin and getting into a little sin.
Oh, gosh, did you make that up?
Yeah, just now.
Fantastic.
Thank you. And so today's episode is all about the Neo Noir sort of boom, and we're focusing on two that take place in Florida. It's it's been sort of a fun season. We've done a lot of different summer movies, a lot of different summer topics so far. We did hot political topics in our first episode for 4th of July. You're welcome.
Oh, God.
We did some true life, hot summers with The Endless Summer and The Summer of Soul, two summers of the 1960s that are pretty iconic. And so now we're moving into our Neo Noir episode. Our sort of, hot bodies, scantily clad people, a lot of sweat and sex appeal and chemistry on screen.
Yes. Very, very hot and sexy in here.
I think it's a pretty fun episode. It really was sort of born out of us just having watched Body Heat before. And us, like, it we'll talk about it a little bit as, we get into it. That's one of our movies today. When we watched it, it was one of those movies that just had heat, on screen. But also, I think what was so entrancing about the movie was, of course, the heat between the characters as well. And so I think that the title really does that great sort of double entendre thing that the noir genre overall is so known for, right? Constant double meaning.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go and do, based off of that, an entire Neo Noir double-header episode. And it's, I think, going to be a pretty fun episode, but before we get too deep into it, I did want to kind of ask you two questions as our little opening chat, if I may.
Sure.
The first one is, I realized we haven't really compared how on-screen visually hot, or even in terms of, I guess, how it makes one feel in a certain way, how hot any of these films are.
Okay. What is your definition of the word hot in this moment right now?
Okay. So, I think that Do the Right Thing has both a literal on-screen heat in terms of people being hot, all the summer activities, all the bright summer colors, the summer color palette. But then I think it also has a scene of sex appeal.
Okay.
But then I think it also has just the heat of the moment across the board.
Okay. Heightened tension that usually is related to being uncomfortably hot. Mm-hmm. You're more likely to pop off and do whatever.
Yeah.
Because you just don't care anymore.
Exactly. All the President's Men was certainly hot in topic, but also it may not have been a hot movie, but it wasn't a cool movie, and I would say that some of those office scenes looked uncomfortable. Yeah,
I mean, also it's a, imagine an office in the 70s.
Yeah, everyone chain smoking, you're in a suit.
Yeah, the air conditioning is not how it's built today.
Yeah.
So
it can pump 8,000 cubic feet of purely AC'd air
and
every 60
who knows?
seconds.
I'm sure that we could ask somebody, but who knows in this general room at the moment how when air conditioning became like a more standardized practice at all.
Yeah, of every office building. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, some places could just not have air conditioning. So to your point, there were definitely, it's because they're also like running around.
and some of the garage scenes had like a this is a hot summer night feel to them. You know, a little bit of a glisten on Redford, a little bit of a glisten on Holbrook. You know,
No, yeah, the wanting to roll up of the sleeves. You know, you're not going to do that if you're cold.
yeah. And then conversely, moving into. So I guess that's my criteria. So based off of that, I've shared some of my thoughts. Do you have any opinions? You don't have to be as long-winded as I was. But, you know, if you had to just sort of give a general heat index rating on, you know, like a scale of 1 to 10 if you wanted.
Of what?
Of overall heat, in your opinion. How summer feeling were the movies that we have done so far, the 4 movies that we've reviewed so far?
Okay. Not including the ones that we're talking about today?
Yeah, we'll talk about those later.
Okay. So of the movies thus far that I feel like feel like summer in them. Well, I think that's the ones that are like super like on the nose for me, like the surfing one.
Endless Summer.
Yeah, you know, the literal idea of chasing the season. You know, I think that's, you know, probably the boldest thing that I've ever seen. You know, that's pretty brass to just be like, I'm gonna travel the world in search of summer, and
Perfect Wave.
yeah, exactly. And the idea of like, in theory, that being a sustainable lifestyle for a person, you know, fascinating. So like that, I think that you're right. I think that Do the Right Thing is completely hot movie, just in every sense of the word. You know, it feels like summer because it is just, you know, these sweltering temperatures, you know, this sweltering chemistry, the sweltering tension, everything is just hot. And the moment that everything, you know, cools off is like near the end of the movie, and that's like also like symbolized by like literal cooling happening of like the tensions of this area, you know. So, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of this episode of Hey Arnold a little bit. You know, where it's, you know, it's these kids in New York in the dead
in
of
the hottest day of the summer.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's, you know, like laying out on their stoops and stuff,
And the
and like
AC isn't pumping it out hot and you
Yeah.
know, cold enough. And
yeah, and somebody like cranks opens up a fire hydrant. And like the literal like this spring of activity, and you know, everybody ends up like, you know, springing to life because of, oh, this is way more comfortable than what I was experiencing beforehand. But honestly, I feel like it's probably one influenced the other a little bit, because I don't know when Hey Arnold came out, but I'm sure it was after Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
But let's see, what other movies have we done?
Summer of Soul.
Oh,
And All the President's Men.
so I think that for me, I think that all the President's Men is probably like
It's a midsummer movie to a lesser.
Yeah, I think that it's probably going to be like my last placer on the like
The current list that we have.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Summer of Soul is also like a profoundly summer movie.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and the idea of getting to go to a summer concert, and like these people were obviously hot. You know, you see, who was it? It was Diana and the Pips, and her poor Pips were like in full suits doing their dances, and they didn't miss a beat. But you better believe that man sweated through his suit, and you saw it.
Yeah. You know, interesting random aside that, you know, we talked about the 2 concert docs of great 60s music documentaries of Summer of Soul and the Peter Jackson Get Back series. What's so interesting is also the sort of clash. Summer of Soul and the Harlem Cultural Music Festival was kind of, you know, in the late 60s, just after a lot of, you know, struggle and strife for the black community, was also at like this real great emergence into you know, the mainstream sort of landscape in the 70s, you know, where like black culture started to dominate, you know, sort of parts of popular culture with like Michael Jackson in the late 70s going into the 80s taking off and things like that.
Well, honestly, it was all started, you know, with this final transition point, which is this, you know, revitalization, this love of what it means to be black, you know, and not using it as an insult anymore, but using it as something to be proud of and something to aspire to and to show off.
Conversely, Get Back comes at the end of a band's career, right when they're breaking up, and even though they'll never not be friends, they'll never not be close, but they have to be apart for a while now, and it's the dead of winter.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, this interesting kind of
this
right place, right time for the season and the narrative themselves of what's going on, but also a weird juxtaposition against each other as well.
Yeah, because also it is in, you know, very close time-wise together, you know, timeline for us. So it's also very interesting that, you know, while one group is having like a rebirth, another is closing that final door. And I think that's really interesting.
Well, and you know, on a certain level, I guess you could almost really read the Beatles breaking up kind of as like the beginning of the end of the British wave and the rise of disco and Motown and stuff like that moving into the 70s and progressive rock.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. No, it's that's, I've always found that transition into what is the 70s to be just a fascinating topic, because the 70s is like no other decade. You know, the 60s gets there, but there's a real solid boom of honestly like a very summer feeling in the 70s just as a whole. You know, there's high tensions, there's high sex, there's, you know, we're pushing boundaries in every direction for the first time, truly, and it's an explosion of rainbow and bell bottoms and afros, and it's fantastic. But
Summer of Soul, I think, is a very successful summer feeling movie. You know, it's up there with Do the Right Thing.
Yes,
you know, in terms of how successfully summer it is.
Yeah, and I think that's really fascinating as well, that both of these films were people of color films. You know, both generally centered around the same people of color, but it's people who live in New York, this multi-ethnic environment that is black, Hispanic, you know, Asian, and white, all mixed together, more evenly than one might expect.
Yeah. The other question that I wanted to ask you very quickly was, before we get into, you know, both of our Neo Noir films, at the core of noir and neo-noir as a genre is sex appeal. Typically, you know, you have the femme fatale. And the femme fatale can have as much attraction with the camera and the audience as she wants, but that also doesn't necessarily equate to chemistry with the leading man or the leading woman, whomever. So I guess my question for you before we get into discussing these two films is, what for you, just as a baseline for the discussion real quickly, creates good on-screen chemistry? How do you look at two actors on a scene and go, they're working? You know, and I know that it's kind of an X Factor thing that's hard to put into words. But if you especially as an actor, I suppose, could kind of say what you consider the difference between they're two good actors acting well in a scene together and they have chemistry.
Okay, yeah, that's a loaded gun of a question.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
But I thought it would be an interesting place to begin our discussion, because
no, for sure,
sex is so much a part of the noir genre.
Well, I think that especially when it comes to sexual attraction, there has to be attraction. You know, at the end of the day, you can be a great actor, you can be a stellar, fantastic actor.
Everyone can feel present.
Exactly. You can feel there, and you're here with this other person, and you're staring into their eyes, and
but you're not.
There's nothing there.
Y'all are never gonna fuck.
No, never gonna happen, and you can't get past the first layer. And I think that's really the difference, and you can see it. You can see it happen when people are genuinely, like, when the moment is real. You can feel that. As an audience member, as an actor, it has to. The thing is with acting is you have to condense a lifetime of experiences into moments.
Could you almost say that chemistry is born from actors being able to quickly establish an emotional shorthand?
Yes. I think that's completely accurate. Because it's about trusting the person that you're across from. And you don't have to know this person inside and out. You do not have to be besties with them. But there is kind of like the sense of like, if I were to fall right now, would this person instinctively catch me? Or would they freeze up and go, that's not my blocking?
Or would they even intentionally, and this could also be from just in terms of creating chemistry on screen, would they intentionally not catch you?
Yeah. And
not because it's not their blocking, but because they're not going to.
Yeah, and that also tells you something.
Mm-hmm. And what does that aloofness tell you in terms of creating friction, which is also its own form of chemistry?
And also, I think that talking without talking is a huge part of chemistry. You have to really find those silent moments and be able to fill those with something interesting that feels believable.
That is not spoken.
Exactly, because you have the lines, they're right there on the page, but it's the subtext. And being able to truly go to those places with your scene partner is important in scenes like this, because also, when you're talking about sex is a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of guards that you have to kind of like take away in order to experience sex with another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, in this instance, there has to be a lot of trust between you and your acting partner about where are the boundaries. These are my boundaries. These are your boundaries. And then, putting that aside in the like side pocket of your brain and then doing the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
And so there are a lot of things that go into what can make or break chemistry. And truly a lot of it is, again, like I said, that condensing of a lifetime of memories with this person into moments, into this 2-hour movie. You have to get there faster than how you would in real life. You have to have these memories. They have to be real.
Well, and also trying to capture the energy of meeting for the first time again.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to tap into, this sort of essence of surprise and being able to be surprised by the person still.
No,
as
yeah.
well. And also going back to what you said about text and subtext, I think it's also worth noting that I think that chemistry, I think you're right, does happen in the subtext. The moment that you say the thing out loud, usually in a scene, you've let all the air out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you let the silent thing happen, whether it's an I love you, whether it's a declaration of hate, whatever it is, I think that, and not even just in terms of sexual chemistry, but any character chemistry, I think so often it is way more important and way more impactful to let the silent thing go unsaid and let your characters just live in a moment of understanding.
No, yeah, because also at the end of the day, if we're trying to recreate real life, there are moments of silence.
Where you just don't say what you should say.
Yeah, life isn't a scripted thing. Sometimes you have to fight the words that you want to say, and like you have to figure out around those words, and those are the things that's the actor's job is to take these words that are written down, that are exactly punctuated the way that somebody said that this was the best way to punctuate it. Now you have to bring these words to life, but you can't just read them.
No.
Because people have natural pauses. They're, you have to think of the things that you're going to say, but then you have to also do that with another person.
Well, and you see in a line that they put some sort of stammer.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
You can't just stammer also the exact way that they did it.
Yeah, you have to find your natural rhythm.
You can't just hit a perfect if that's not, what you necessarily feel in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And so, a great scene that has that is oozing with chemistry is that scene from Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt,
where the gunfight turns into the sex scene.
Yeah, the next morning when they're like tiptoeing through the kitchen in their their shitty fucked up kitchen, every glass everywhere, and they're just having a breakfast and orange juice, and they're just it's kind of cute. It's this playful.
It's got a lot of chemistry to it.
Yeah, obviously that's one of the things that probably sparked their whole marriage and relationship, was this like finding that intimacy with another person. Mm-hmm. But that's also why people have showmances all the time. Because they can't, because they go so far that there isn't that real line separation anymore. See every Spider-Man and every MJ.
Yeah.
Some people can't cross that line, and I guess
compartmentalize.
Exactly, in a professional manner. Yeah. These are characters. These people aren't real. This is not me. This is not this person. Mm-hmm.
There are parts of us that are real in them, but at the end of the day, this is not us.
Yeah, and exactly. And because I've had to go so far into finding these attractions with this person,
and because we're also constantly around each other playing this part,
doing the things that these characters do, sometimes that leads to like real life things happening. But that's that's the business.
No, yeah. Well, like I said, at the core of today's discussion is chemistry, because we are discussing noir films, and in particular Neo Noir films, which is a really interesting sort of whole rabbit hole that we'll go down a little bit. But first, let's also have a little bit of a lesson on noir and sort of defining noir and Neo Noir.
Fantastic. So,
classic film noir can be found as far back as the 1920s on a certain level. You have movies like M, the Fritz Lang film, which certainly informs a lot of the noir genre. It's maybe not a classic noir, but it's something called a proto-noir, which is how I kind of frame Hitchcock's Psycho as a proto-slasher, more than a true slasher.
They were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah. But the classical period and like a big influence on the slasher, or on the noir film, is like German existentialism, which also just had a big influence on a lot of stuff in American cinema at that time. But the classical period is considered to be the 1940s to the 1950s. There are several criteria that generally are used to describe a noir film. They usually have a lead character affiliated with the criminal world. There is usually a femme fatale. There is conspiracy. There is moral ambiguity. There are themes of pessimism, fatalism, or cynicism. And there is an overall sense of existential dread.
Fantastic.
The term comes from the French, who used it to describe the sensibility of American detective cinema. Early examples of film noir, like I said, include M from Fritz Lang. In an American context, the noir films were oftentimes adaptation of Pulp Fiction stories.
Okay.
And Pulp Fiction got its name literally because of the paper it was printed on. It was cheap paper that wasn't really completely ground down and pasted out into a nice, good paper blend. And so you would get this sort of like pulpy, shitty paper.
Interesting. And now you can buy that on Etsy for like quadruple the price. Because it's fancier.
Early noir film was largely kept from depictions of sex and violence because of strict content codes called the Hays Codes, which we've discussed before on the show. I believe that we discussed them especially in our I Love Lucy. Or
yes, when we talked about the movie.
The Lucille Ball, yeah.
Yeah.
Being the Ricardos.
Yes, that is the name of it. Good job.
Much of what fueled the interest in noir films were the times themselves, which were informed by the Great Depression, modernization, World War I and World War II, and social change and upheaval, and the uncertainty of the times in general, as well as the power of the gangster, which was really, gripping the nation at the time. Mm-hmm. Capone went down, but that was a man. The Black Hand still had its grip on America until the 70s. Mm-hmm. And so, classic film noirs include Stranger on the Third Floor, 1940, which is by many considered to be sort of the first.
Okay.
Double Indemnity, The Postman Always Rings Twice, and then, of course, you have Touch of Evil from 1958, which is considered to be the last. Interesting,
okay.
The term noir was first introduced, like I said, by a Frenchman in 1945. His name was Nino Frank. But it was codified by American film studies in the 70s.
Okay.
Some argue that noir never actually went away and that it just changed shapes. Others argue that noir had a particular period and that everything else that came after is in some form a subset of noir.
Okay, do you have, like, an example of these, like, just after the noir period?
Yes.
Fantastic.
So, Neo Noir is considered to be one of the derivative forms. Generally speaking, the peak of Neo Noir is considered to be the 80s and into the 90s-ish. Mm-hmm. However, there are some people who argue that the 60s and 70s include examples of neo-noirs like 1974's Chinatown.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But a film that is largely often considered the first film of the neo-noir boom is 1981's Body Heat.
Well, if this is a good inspiration piece, then, I'd say.
Interestingly enough, the neo-noir boom also commingles with the independent cinema movement that started to take off in the late 80s, moving into the 90s and the early aughts. Where you started to see certain people like the Coen brothers, Quentin Tarantino, and others go and cut their teeth doing cheap crime thrillers and noir films as their entry point into cinema.
Okay.
It's literally called Pulp Fiction.
Oh. Well, would you look at that?
So, I think that, for me personally, sort of looking at it, I think that if we're talking about things that sort of fueled the interest in the neo-noir movement, I think one of them is the fact that it got imbued with a lot of on-screen open sex and nudity, which had not been present in it at the same level before with the erotic thriller, and I think that that was titillating and interesting for people. But furthermore, I think that it's also fueled by the fact that it's at the Cold War. You are at the end of it approaching Y2K. You also have, some of this underlying war on crime sentiment. Mm-hmm. Right? America is being seen as sort of this growing lawless land, and like Clinton runs on the whole like law and order sort of presidency stance. He's a Democrat, but he believes in the police. Mm-hmm. And so I think that these are sort of the things that are kind of, we're turning into a meaner people, you know. The nice 80s, late 70s is over, and now it's becoming the mean, grungy 80s and moving into the nasty 90s. And
that is what they call the 90s.
And I think that that's kind
devastating.
of what is fueling a little bit of this move toward neo-noir altogether, personally. And though there have been other subgenre movements with the noir genre, none of them really compare in terms of like the depth of availability of content of neo-noir. There is another sort of subsect called neon noir that's almost getting into like that cyberpunk sort of aesthetic, where you're starting to get into movies like Blade Runner.
Oh, okay, like the Tron movie?
Yeah, lesser so. But close. Parts of that movie, very much so, like the nightclub stuff and some of that stuff.
Yeah. You know, anytime they have like a futuristic club scene.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. So that kind of thing.
Copy, okay.
But like I said, the first movie that sort of is considered the real beginning of the period is 1981's Body Heat.
Fantastic. Honestly, I can see why it kind of sparked a revamp, you know.
Yeah. It was released August 28th, 1981. It is an hour and 53 minutes long. It is rated R. It is written and directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who also wrote the rewrite of Empire Strikes Back. And the cast, the main stars are William Hurt and Kathleen Turner. Ted Danson is also in the movie.
He is also in this movie.
The plot is, in the midst of a searing Florida heat wave, a woman persuades her lover, a small-town lawyer, to murder her rich husband.
Classic.
So, dear, what did you think of Body Heat?
Oh, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I understand, you know, I think that it takes the idea of a noir movie and just really amps it up, you know, really kind of pulls it out of the classic, we're going to set it in the 50s shtick that so many noir movies will do, you know, even to this day. They're like, we're doing it so on the nose it hurts. Where this movie is set in 1981, you know, and they found this effortless way of melding these modern ideas and these classic tropes into this delightful roller coaster ride of a mystery where you truly don't know, you know where it's going, but it's still very fresh and interesting here as well. No, I have no notes for this movie. This is a perfect movie for the theme of our month, honestly. Boy howdy, are those people, like, they're actively warm, and there's so many times when they have the like classic noir line of being like, but don't talk about the heat. You know, they throw that one out there so many times, and it's great. Because it works and everybody knows what they're doing. And the fact that, honestly, our leads have great chemistry. They're top notch, you know. I think that William Hurt does a phenomenal job as our lead, Ned. I didn't even remember that his name was Ned. Not even gonna lie, I don't think anyone calls him that. Not often.
She at one point is like, "Oh, Ned."
Yeah. That's just his name. People, we don't need it.
Ned
though.
Racine.
Whatever.
Well, they typically refer to him usually by his name whenever they're in any kind of legal proceedings scene. because it has to be for the legal record. And so that's usually the most that his name is ever said on screen.
Yes.
Is in any of the legal proceedings.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love the
young Ted Danson character.
Oh, for sure. I love the fact that he has black hair. All my life Ted Danson has been a silver foxed man. He's been silver as hell. Not a drop of color, and I just floored by the fact that he had such dark hair and just poof, no pigment now. Fantastic. And I think that Ted Danson does a really great job with this. I understand completely also like why he was in Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a far character. This is right in his pocket of character to play. But he also disappears a little bit, which is nice because it's not about him.
No, not at all. He's servicing the movie at large.
Mm-hmm. No, and again, yeah, everybody is just really, really on point. But I absolutely love the like climactic like sexual tension scene. Where, like, there have been so many scenes where, like, you don't know whether or not she's gonna actually let him follow her home. And then she locks him out, and he fucking throws a chair, or whatever, through her window, and then they have sex right there in the foyer. It's just this, like, really great scene of, like, the heat of the moment, the heat of the night, where we've all been leading to, and then this just, like, poof, the waves crashing on the rocks moment of your like climactic fury. It's fantastic. And then we have this like nice, ease back into this new part of the story where like he's hooked. And again, they do all the tropes, but they do them so well that you're almost unaware of them.
You're right. In a lot of ways, that's almost like an act turn.
Exactly.
Scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because now they're not the same,
It's almost like being bit by the vampire.
Exactly. And there are so many times where you watch movies like this and you go, I get why they went down this line, but like, seeing it happen every time, you're like, she's fucking with you, dude.
Yeah. But I think that they do a good job at teasing this out.
Yeah, exactly, because she's doing a phenomenal job of leading him on.
Not to get into too big of spoilers, little spoiler, I guess, moving forward, but, it's 40 years old. The big sort of moment that you really go, oh, fuck, is the moment that you realize how long she's been planning it.
Yeah.
That's the real... Because, like, you realize that at a certain point, it's going in the direction of, oh, he's gonna get conned. It's like Double Indemnity. Oh, he's gonna get conned.
Yeah.
But the big reveal is how long she's been fucking
Well, that's
planning.
what I mean, like, that's why she's so good at just, like, keeping this thing going, like, he truly thinks that she's in love with him, and, like, maybe she does have feelings for him, but also she's got a goal in mind that doesn't include him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the perfect sucker.
Yeah.
And I think that she does a phenomenal job. I think that I also, applaud the costuming in this movie, because they managed to make people look just like the sexiest that they could possibly ever look in just like business attire.
Yeah, just regular everyday clothing. Everyone looks really good, but also it again looks summery, but also scenes look hot. They cram everyone into that diner.
Mm-hmm,
to where it's not just hot outside, but everyone is so hot outside that now they're coming inside.
And it's no relief in here
because now you're all crammed in together.
Yeah. And there's maybe a fan going, but
those
also
grill tops are going in this diner, and
the doors constantly opening and closing.
And people are moving and running around, and it's not much better.
Nope, not at all.
And the courtroom is hot. It's stifling in that old Florida courtroom of this small town.
Honestly.
I think that they do a great job of using the setting and the locales and the costuming and also, the makeup. You gotta go in and you gotta get them glistening. You gotta get the glycerin out and you gotta spritz them. Not too much.
That it looks like they're just sopping wet.
Yeah, you don't want them to look like they've got body oil on. You don't want him to look like The Rock in like a Fast and Furious movie.
Maybe the whole cast of the Fast and Furious franchise is baby oiled up. You know it. They all smell great.
So, I think that they managed to hit that right blend. And I think you're right. I think that this movie follows a rigidly classical noir structure in every conceit and every term of what that means. And I think that ultimately makes it like a really successful movie. How familiar were you, I guess, going into this with noir tropes, noir as a genre?
You know, the classic ones. I think that a lot of
the Looney Tunes parodies.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, honestly. Because of the fact that things like this have been around for so long, they have been parodied for eternity. And so you can't watch really anything without something like referencing, you know, Casablanca or something, you know, where it's just a very overly dramatic, you know, mystery movie, you know, or the classic... Because there were TV shows.
The gangster movies with the gunning down and the Tommy guns and all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's always some woman in the middle of it all and she came and stepped her legs into my office, and I knew it was gonna be a hot and steamy night. You know, like, it's classic. Rorschach, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
He's a noir.
Yeah, he's a noir detective figure.
You know, I mean, the whole thing is, and then again, another thing
he's got the running monologue. So, I guess then also with that in mind, how did seeing, especially like the first true Neo Noir, but also having watched movies like Blood Simple, which we could have easily put with this movie as well, you know, how do you compare your more recent understanding of Neo Noir against whatever you understand of classic noir?
Well, number one, it's in color. You know, in my brain, it's always like the very black and whites. Everybody's in like a suit and tie. You know, very, very Mad Men looking aesthetic. Yeah, you know, very dramatic. And so serious.
Always dead serious.
But they also find ways of doing these fun shots where you're seeing exactly what the camera wants you to see, and it's you know, her pearl necklace. You know, perfectly framed, and it's a lot of artistry and it's a lot of time with it. But I also understand how they could crank these things out.
Yeah,
because the formula was patent. And they were
and you also had the books to pull from. You know,
Yeah.
you had Pulp Fiction to just turn and burn into a script.
Yeah, and also, you know, great, we've done that one. We'll just revamp it.
We'll do the sequels.
We'll slap a different name on it and some different characters, but we'll do the same exact narrative. But I also really enjoyed the fact that this felt almost exactly like that. But this new interesting way of doing it, you know, it felt very you know, familiar, but also that I think that this is, even though it is very dramatic, it's a very dramatic movie and it's of its time, it is not as stiff and as serious as those other ones were. And I think that that's a fun vein to go down, you know, this a little bit more flexible environment, because the modern world, you know, you have to live in it, or else it feels like you're on a set.
Well, and just as a random aside about like sort of genre and, you know, its tropes and its standards, I also think it's honestly disingenuous in some ways to say that a genre has to be confined to a single time, and I really think that it's sort of almost borderline silly to kind of differentiate Body Heat from the classical period. Because I think that I'm more inclined to say that genres may arrive out of a particular time, but they change over time.
And this is just an evolution of that.
Yes.
And not like some weird subsect, you know,
It's not you've got A and you've got B.
No, because A doesn't exist anymore, so technically all we have is B, so technically B is A.
Yeah. This is where it went. This is the bloodline.
Exactly.
This is people having children.
Yes.
You know, and making children. We can take it all the way and, you know, back to your ancestry going to Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that makes you our modern day descendant of Lincoln.
Yeah, it doesn't make you some weird, like, subsect Lincoln, some weird knockoff Lincoln.
Yeah, you're not like weird clone Lincoln.
Yeah, or something, you know. It's just a strange mindset to be like, ugh.
It's, and art is so progressive, you know, the slasher changed over time. The slasher was born out of a particular time. Very particular.
Yeah.
But it's evolved now.
Yeah, because generations are influenced by the generations before them, and so they take those things and then they tweak them a little bit, and then they spit out that, you know, as a new thing. And then now for, you know, our children, Body Heat is going to be a classic.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's the same kind of thing. It's like, this is the new classic, so therefore, for somebody, this is the original thing.
Yeah. So, on a scale of All the President's Men to Do the Right Thing, how summer is this movie?
Oh my god. I think that it is... I think that it might be in, like... this is hard.
I'd say it's like just shy of a Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, I was like, it's probably sitting in second. I was trying to decide if it was in second or third place.
Somewhere in there.
But no, I think that on the scale of
It's on the hotter side.
yeah, for sure, and just every aspect of it, you know.
The stakes, everything.
Yeah.
So if you had to rate the film out of 5 overall, what would you give Body Heat?
Oh, I think that this movie's great. I think that this movie deserves a 5 out of 5. I think that it's really just like a stellar piece of art. And it's just an interesting take on the genre, and you know, I understand why people watch these things. Like it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun mystery.
No, absolutely. I think that I'm gonna go with a 5 as well. You know, I definitely, to your point, also see why it is considered as one of the things that kicked off the boom again. I think that it does everything that it wants to do so successfully well.
Yeah.
And I don't really see a lot of foibles in it. You know, even if it doesn't particularly blow you off your feet. This is just a very technically well-structured, well-crafted movie that manages to tell character effectively while moving the plot along quickly. It never feels sleepy.
No, yeah, and like all character motivations can feel completely honest and true to the
nothing
moment.
feels out of left field.
And that's when, you know, the shocking ending comes out of left field, because you're like, holy crap, you know? But it was so real. The whole thing was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can successfully convince me that the whole thing was a lie and have that being a shocking revelation, like, kudos.
And I think I've talked about it on the show before, you know. James Lipton was talking with Tom Hanks about Captain Phillips. Mm-hmm. He was on Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton. Rest in peace. And James Lipton was talking about, he was quoting some sort of person, as James Lipton was wont to do. And he essentially was talking about, like, great acting is sort of absolutely projecting from the first moment the fate of the character, but still making it a surprise.
Yes.
And that, you know, you absolutely know the fate of the Captain Phillips character. And you even on a certain level have that instinct present the moment that you see Tom Hanks, but that at the end of that film, Tom Hanks still manages to do this transformative, surprising, emotional journey. And I think that this movie manages to hit that point. Mm-hmm. From the word go, you know exactly where the story is going, and it still somehow manages to just be as emotionally impactful and resonant and surprising in its final moments.
Yeah. It's because it's damn good.
Yeah.
Damn fun.
Moving on, traveling 17 years into the future, and kind of hitting now on the tail end of this thing, where also a lot of eroticism has been imbued into it with movies like Basic Instinct and stuff like that. We're now getting into one of the last sort of neo-noir films, and one of the great sort of erotic thrillers, I would say, of that period, because I think that they sort of bleed together, is John McNaughton's Wild Things. It was released March 20th, 1998. We watched the extended cut. The theatrical cut is an hour 48. The extended cut is an hour 55. So we will be reviewing the extended cut, I should say. And it is rated originally R. It's written by Stephen Peters. It's directed by John McNaughton. It stars Neve Campbell as Susie Toller, Denise Richards as Kelly Van Ryan, Kevin Bacon as Ray Duquette, and Matt Dillon as Sam Lombardo. The plot is a police detective uncovers a conspiracy behind a case involving a high school guidance counselor when accusations of rape are made against him by 2 female students.
Wow, they really just, spell out that whole plot line.
So, I guess I'll go ahead and kick this one off, as I usually do on the second film.
Yes.
This is a movie that I had seen a few times before. The very first time I saw it was edited for television. It was on something like Spike TV, and I knew about the movie because it was one of those films because of its salacious reputation. Mm-hmm. Of, at the time, the lesbian makeout scene in particular. The threesome scene is what becomes the sort of later unedited content added in.
I was gonna ask you what was the
What's the difference? That's part of it.
Yeah, interesting. Titillating.
And so I had seen the TV edited version years ago as a kid, and I had heard of its salacious reputation surrounding that infamous scene. And I caught the movie long before that scene. Not right when it started, but I caught the movie before that scene, and I watched it through that scene, and I kept watching the movie, and the movie finished out, and I was like, this movie is so much more than what that one scene fucking is. And I was really pretty astounded at how that one scene had gotten so profoundly blown out of proportion that this movie got turned into this, mangled, misshapen game of telephone. It's that movie where Neve Campbell, makes out with Denise Richards.
Yep.
And that was it. And so when I first saw this movie for the first time, and I was so, blown away by it, and I saw fucking Bill Murray in it, who I didn't know was in it in any capacity at all. You want to talk about something that no one talked about? No one talked about Bill Murray being in this fucking movie.
Well, it's because he's not on the poster.
And so, I was really floored by it, and I really liked the movie. And I thought it was really odd that people hated this movie, and so it ended up becoming one that eventually I got on Blu-ray, and I watched it again, and I was like, no, this still holds up. And so that's kind of my backstory on it. We recently got the Arrow 4K re-release of the film. It's stunning, it's gorgeous. The movie's definitely never looked better. And I gotta say, it still holds the fuck up. In many ways, I was actually still surprised how good it is. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure, because it had been long enough. You always have that thing of, how are you going to come back to a movie that you haven't seen in X amount of time? I've changed from the last time I saw this. How is it going to impact me again? Is something that I always go to with a movie that I haven't seen in a long time. And I was really just blown away at just the subtle ways in which this is a fucking well-made movie.
I mean, yes. I didn't know if you were going to continue.
No, you're totally fine.
You straight up stopped, and I was like, he's gonna keep going. So I had never heard of this movie before, living with you. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't aware of any of the scandalous nature behind this movie or any of the stories or anything like that. And I remember you kept telling me that it was like Neve Campbell and Denise Richards, and I was like,
what the fuck does that look like?
That doesn't sound right. No part of that combination of people.
You tell me Neve Campbell and oh god, I'm blanking on her name. The one, Rose McGowan.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Makes total sense.
Totally, completely. I mean, even Neve Campbell and Matt Dillon. Totally. Okay. Interesting.
Neve Campbell, Kevin Bacon.
Oh, what are we doing here?
Makes sense.
It's really, maybe it's just Denise. It's
I think for you it is just that Denise is the sort of awkward wheel of this.
Well, yeah, because like the only other version of like Denise Richards acting I've ever seen has been the space one.
Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers is like the only thing that I had ever seen of Denise Richards acting, because she's a model, correct?
She was a model. She did do a fair amount of acting. She's in a Bond movie with Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
She's like the main Bond girl of a Pierce Brosnan movie. She's Dr. Christmas Jones.
No, yes, but that doesn't count. Because you're telling me, I'm sorry, and maybe, oh god, some Bond fans are going to be like, typing angrily into
She's
their
like
computers.
a nuclear physicist.
No, she is not. No part of me is ever going to believe any version of reality where Denise Richards is
she
any
helps
kind
him, like,
of...
disarm a nuclear sub or some shit.
Is
like
it with her boobs? Like, come on, guys. Like, God, Bond, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry.
Lord have mercy.
No, that's not, I mean, like, no offense to the Bond women out there, but like, not a lot of those roles were hard. And and a lot of those women didn't have careers
Well,
after
it was hard for Denise. She had to play a nuclear physicist.
They put her in something skimpy and everybody was like, don't
It was
worry.
a Lara Croft outfit.
Of course it was.
It was essentially a glorified Lara Croft outfit.
Fantastic.
Because she was out working on like a pipeline energy program. So she was in the field.
I'm sorry, this is exactly how I feel about Bryce Dallas Howard in the Jurassic franchise.
You want to talk about opposite of chemistry. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, great chemistry. Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard,
no chemistry. None whatsoever. They're looking through each other.
It's because the teleprompter is just past either of them.
It's terrible. And the best one is the first one. Everything just goes downhill.
No, I haven't seen the third.
No, why?
But anywho, back to Wild Things.
So, like, my only experience with watching Denise Richards as an actor, because I knew her as a model. Mm-hmm. Like, all of the things that I ever saw of Denise, she was a model. You see her in magazines and all these things, and, like, I wasn't really watching movies like this growing up, so, like, I had no idea. Or in, like, Starship Troopers, I definitely wasn't watching that in my home. The home I grew up in would have been scandalized. By the shower scene. But, so yeah, I was just, like, so thrown by the sheer idea of this movie. And honestly, like, for the most part, this movie really, really works. And where it doesn't work is purely just in the campiness of it, where some people just didn't sign up to the right movie.
I understand where you're at with that.
Some people are really, like, in on the joke of, like, what this is. Because it's unlike Body Heat,
which is doing an authentic thing. This is doing it's doing a Paul Verhoeven thing.
Yeah, it's almost like an episode of Degrassi. It's so dramatic, but like in this like just ridiculous like arm flailing kind of fashion.
It's this really interesting thing that I feel like a lot of movies do, where they decide to use a high school setting to do something either really insane or like particularly adult. You've got that movie The Faculty, which is Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a high school. Mm-hmm. You've got Brick, which is another noir film in a high school. So I think that it's really interesting that they use these kind of high school settings. Look at Mean Girls. Look at how heightened Mean Girls really is.
You know, and you're aware of it from the beginning because, again, like, the world is built for this. And Paul Verhoeven is all levels of a director.
Who could have done this.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is very much like in his kind of wheelhouse because it's also not afraid of being sexy.
No.
Not at all. And
reaching for creating whatever the director clearly thinks is like a provocative and erotic moment.
No, yeah, and honestly I find it I find this movie to be more successfully sexy with the same amount of nudity, more or less, than like Benedetta. Mm-hmm. You know, we saw a lot of nudity in that movie, and there was not a lot of sex appeal.
He lost a little bit of the line in Benedetta, I think.
Yeah.
It's one of his less graceful ones.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, like this, I think we see just the right amount of, you know, skin. Obviously, it is always going to be Denise Richards. You don't ever see any bit of Neve Campbell, and I think that that's fascinating that, like, people were, like, so appalled by her even being in this movie that, like, they were like, meh, to Neve, pretty much.
Yeah, this, if I'm not mistaken, and I could have some of my history here a little bit wrong, it's like Wild Things and her being in the Scream franchise ruined her.
And that's the funny thing is those are the only things that I know her from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they typecast her sort of into certain roles, and this kind of deemed her like salacious. The Scream franchise kind of just labeled her as a Scream queen, and she never really got like big breakout roles, even though she has all the dramatic chops to do it.
And that's the problem with how society views
acting and...
Well, I was just gonna stamp it on sex.
Oh, that's
just
fair.
In general, because of the fact that like this movie has nudity in it and girl on girl action. You know, instantly this movie is rated R, slapped with that on it, and nobody gets to see it now because nobody is gonna want to watch this in 1998. Mm-hmm. You know. The only people who are watching this are probably some scummy kids anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, of course this and being a Scream queen, again, another underappreciated genre of film, gets completely, like, brushed to the back shelf, you know? It's lesser than generic comedy and the musical category, you know?
Yeah.
But, no, I find this movie to be just, like... I was not prepared for the ending. At all. I had no idea where this movie was going to go. And when we got there, I was like, holy crap. It was another one of those moments where I was like, they've been building this the entire time for so long. How? How did they have the access to the materials that they needed in order to pull this off? It's just, what? Because also, you know, what's so classic in movies like this is to only show the audience what they need in order to get to a point, so that way, once we do see the person behind the camera, you know, the person behind the curtain, we get to build the how they did it, you know, how the heist got pulled off.
And that's also something that happens so often in noirs, is usually at the end, and it's something that Hitchcock kind of pulls into, like Psycho. Is usually at the end someone goes and monologues about why it all happened or how it all went down.
The Twilight Zone.
Yeah, you know, like the old Florida woman who was out there telling her, you know, old Sydney, that's not her character's name, old Susie, you know.
Old Sydney!
She was actually secretly this all along, you know, like...
Yes.
And so that's like the classic noir thing. You kind of get the same thing in Body Heat, where he sits down and he's like, she planned it, you know, and he lays it all out for the black cop that doesn't believe him.
No, yeah, because it's also, they got away with it so well that they'll never be caught, you know.
Even if someone knows how they did it, you can never prove that they did it.
Yeah,
that's how good they are.
No, and I think that's really difficult to pull off. And I think that these two movies have done a very successful job of pulling off the switcheroo. You know, this, like, kind of whodunit Clue-esque story of, you know, as the audience, we are the perspective characters, so it's always never, like, the person that we've been following the most, obviously. Because if we did it, then we would be seeing the things that they were seeing, you know, the things that they were doing. But it's always like, now, who of this cast of misfits that we've tacked onto this movie is the person that's gonna you know, flip the script on us? Who is the smartest person here? And usually it is a woman.
No, absolutely, because it's the femme fatale.
Exactly, because attraction, she's so pretty, it's deadly.
Exactly. If you had to give it a All the President's Men to Do the Right Thing summer rating, how summer is this movie?
Okay, so how summer is Wild Things. I don't think that it is as hot, like,
as Body Heat.
Yeah, just in any kind of like active, like, sweltering heat off
I'd
of
give it,
this
I
movie.
guess, whatever is like a
middle point.
I was gonna say a middle point to like a 7.5.
A 7.5
You know, if it's
on
a 10-point scale.
Okay, so 1 being good or 1 being bad?
1 being, I guess, currently All the President's Men. 10 being
Oh, okay, okay. Copy. So you're leaning closer to Do the Right Thing. I was wondering on which scale of the half you were going on.
Yeah. So, like, half, 5 to, like, 7.5.
Okay, gotcha. Lovely.
Somewhere in there.
Sorry, I was like, what? Okay. Yeah, no, I think that I'm gonna smack this, like, kind of right in the middle. I think that Summer of Soul is definitely, like, a warmer, hotter movie.
Yeah.
Than this one for sure. And, like, even though they have the scene in the pool, it's really
the car wash scene, some of the other outdoor activities. No one looks visually uncomfortable in the heat.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Everyone still looks hot.
Exactly, you know, it's definitely not a Michael Bay movie where you know that they've been spritzed 50 times today.
And also, it's not Body Heat where it's that little bit sticking to you, you know, and your hair is just a little bit more loose than you would like it to be. Everyone here looks manicured.
Yeah. Absolutely hilarious looking at either Neve Campbell or Denise Richards and thinking, those are teenagers.
No, that's fair.
That's the biggest joke of the whole thing right there.
Especially Denise, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Also, their teacher was a scumbag.
Sam Lombardo, the counselor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the point.
But I just hate the fact that his whole thing at the beginning is like, I definitely didn't do that, but I didn't rape her, but I was having consensual sex with a minor.
Don't you worry about that.
So that's better.
Welcome to the moral ambiguity of a noir film.
Because we're in love.
Right.
She's in love with me, and I am fucking her.
That's right. So if you had to rate out of 5 Wild Things, what would you rate Wild Things?
I think that I'm gonna rate Wild Things. I'm gonna give Wild Things a 4.5.
Okay.
I think that it's doing a really stellar job. There's some points where it's like just shy of perfect, and I think that especially for as it being like a representation of the genre and of our theme, I think that I'm gonna give it that 0.5 point off.
Okay. I'll go for a 4.5 as well. I actually think that this is kind of a little bit of an underrated gem. I think that it's gotten some sort of new love into it again. I think that Matt Dillon was, for whatever reason, made to be a leading man when he's actually like a fucking idiot Bruce Campbell kind of type. or a scumbag. You know, I think that these are more his wheelhouse. I love that Kevin Bacon was a producer on this movie.
I loved that Kevin Bacon was in this movie.
And it's
we
such
have
a
not
nuts
talked,
Kevin Bacon performance.
We have not talked enough about Kevin Bacon.
No, it's such a deranged Kevin Bacon performance. It's one of my favorites because you also forget that he's in it entirely at a certain point.
Yeah, like honestly, like us talking about this, like he's totally in this poster right now, but he's obviously not Matt Dillon.
Once the shock of seeing him wears off, he vanishes again.
Yeah, he's such an effortless actor, and there's also just like a lot of gravitas. Like I have to give him, props for doing that whole full frontal.
Yeah.
On camera, because like it's so classic for people to be like, oh, here's some tits, and here's another tits, and here's a full backside of a woman. You've seen her top to bottom. You know that the person in front of her, who with the part that we're not seeing, is seeing her completely naked. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty bold for any male actor, especially in a film like that. I think that this was, pretty stellar, like evening it out. Obviously, it's not enough. We see a way more female nudity than male, but
you never see full frontal female. You only ever see boobs.
Exactly.
Whereas Kevin Bacon, you get a real good look at his Kevin Hogg.
Ew. It is Kevin Bacon.
That's right. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand on Wild Things. I'll go 4.5 as well. I agree. I think that it sticks the landing so much where it wants to, and it isn't for everyone, but it is for me.
Yeah.
It is not for everyone, but this movie is sure as shit for me.
No, this movie is sexy also, I think that it nails that really
and it has
well.
chemistry.
Yeah, for sure.
The cast has chemistry. Even when I don't think
it.
Denise Richards succeeds as an actor, I think that she succeeds in having chemistry.
Yes, I think that is one of her strengths, and I think that that's why she is in so many things, is because she's just likable.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And you want to like her.
Yeah, because you know that she's trying her fucking best right now. Like, you can see it.
Yeah. I guess we'll move on into our end of the show portion. Mm-hmm. Just a few little things. As far as what we're watching, honestly, it's just been stuff for the show lately.
No, yeah. We did watch All That Jazz.
We did watch All That Jazz, which was great. Mm-hmm. I had never seen it before. We've talked about us watching, I think, Fosse Verdon before, and it was really interesting to see how much of his life he really did just slap into the movie.
No, yeah, with like an effortless, like, cheeky wink.
Yeah.
Where he's like, this is my life. It was garbage.
Yep.
Woo!
Enjoy. I wish I was dead.
That is absolutely...
Me being a piece of shit is fine because I wish I was dead.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to change.
Until I actually die.
Yes, many years later.
But beyond that, I did want to let y'all know that we've been actively, very excitedly building the collection and categorizing it. Once I have the full list, I think that I will share it with y'all. But we have currently been working on building and categorizing the movie collection itself. Yes, we have. It's been a whole process. Yeah, we're getting close to being done. I've got a few things that I need to input, but job and just getting the show ready in general supersedes this little project for me during the work week. Well, and yeah, but it's a labor of love. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But that's why it isn't done completely yet, is just other things happen. And also we have more than the average bear of movies. That's also true. It just takes a lot of time to type. Yeah, it does. But we're up around 1,000 now. We're getting very close. Not typed up all the way, but definitely in terms of like just physical count, we're getting really, really close, and I'm really pumped to cross that line of 1,000. And to also just go and share the list. Once I have the full collection list, I can't wait to share it with y'all. Oh my gosh, yeah. People can read through our movie Yeah, and tell me what shit my taste is. I'm excited.
That's fine. It doesn't matter, because there's
And I'll say, fuck you, I got Green Hornet as a joke.
Well, also the fact that, like, once you have, like, 1,000 of anything, you're going to have some iffy ones in there. Like, there's just not 1,000 great movies of art. You know, like, that's not real.
Beyond that, I did want to also bring up the trailer for The Munsters, which just came out.
Yes.
It's Rob Zombie doing a family film, which is pretty odd, but it looks like he really wants to do, like, whatever he feels makes him feel the way watching The Munsters felt.
Yeah, honestly, I think that it looks super cute. I'm really excited about watching it.
Reminds me of almost like the old Flintstones movie.
Yeah.
From like the 90s on a certain level.
You know, where they're literally wearing the exact costumes, and they're doing it up, because you also know that these people have on a lot of makeup
to make them look the part and that sort of thing.
Yes, and they did a great job. Honestly, copy and paste. There's really no visual difference between, like, what my memory of the Munsters is and watching the Munsters and looking at these people right here. Like, usually when you see, like, a remake of something, you're like, oh, those are definitely not the people.
Yeah.
Those are for sure, totally 100% not them. Those people are, who knows, maybe they're dead now. I don't know, but these aren't them.
No, absolutely.
But no, it looks really good, and I'm really excited. It also looks really almost like Tim Burton-esque in the lighting design, kind of like the Tim Burton Batmans, where it's like very vibrant colors and, like, obviously spooky, subject matter, but really light and interesting.
Well, I think that if you go back and think about his Halloween films, he plays with lighting washes of whole sets very often. Beyond that, the only other thing that I wanted to say was that we do have a new written review out. I posted it yesterday, if you didn't see it posted on social media. And it's for the new film that just came out today, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yes!
Which I had the very lucky opportunity, thanks to the good people at A24, to go and see at the Independent Picture House here in Charlotte. I saw it with a friend of the show, Nick Delgadillo. And I really enjoyed the movie, and I really wanted to try and write a review that conveyed what I thought were the sort of key emotional things that resonated with me from the narrative. And so I hope that you go and check it out. Check out the review. Check out the movie. It's a very sweet, sentimental film without ever becoming cloying and saccharine in how sort of sweet it is. I think it manages to find a good balance, even by allowing itself to sort of slip into an almost sort of Wes Anderson level of somber at times. And I think that that's really powerful and impactful stuff, and I think it's definitely worth the watch, and definitely go and check out my review for some of what I consider, I guess, the emotional thrust of the film.
Yes, I mean, to your point, honestly, I think that emotion is really important, and I think that movies provide a safe environment to explore emotion, and so when everything is just, like, happy and sweet, and it kind of loses its reality in a sense, because life is hard, and life is hard on every level. Even if you're a child, you could have bad days, and figuring out how to process that is the journey of life. And we have these things as resources, and having a variety of outlets, experiencing anger, experiencing sadness, experiencing just somber, just melancholy, and also extreme happy are all important emotions because it's they're like muscles. You have to move them, you have to flex them, or else they can snap.
But that's pretty much all that we have for y'all this week. Please be sure to come and join us next week when we get into a little bit of a crime wave. After all, the heat makes people act up.
That is right.
And
that is absolutely correct. I mean, honestly, we see it every day with our commute to work.
That's right.
The heat makes people act up, people.
And so, please come back next week. Please check out the Marcel the Shell review. Go back and check out our previous episodes. Check out some of the episodes that we maybe mentioned in passing. Email us any questions you have. If something got sparked in your head hearing some of the discussion that you want to hear a little bit of history. If you want us to go and do a history dive that may not even be 100% related to the episode that we're doing, I can go and look up some stuff for people,
But you've got to do the work.
And so, yeah, you've got to email me the question.
We are not mind readers. We do not feel through the waves of the phone into the Ethernet of the internet. We're not that close. We're not that good.
So, yeah, hit us up at thefilmbudspodcast@gmail.com. Congratulations also to our dear host, Henry, on his recent nuptials.
Yes, the nuptials indeed.
Congratulations, you crazy knucklehead. And to the new missus, congratulations to you both. I can't wait to chat with y'all. And potentially have y'all on the show whenever we can arrange that.
Yes, it's the arranging is the fun part.
That is. As always, thank you guys for listening. Like I said, come back next week, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.